Pat. It's Pat on brands. Watch how you branded, man. A pat on the back is a pat from the man. Better be branded, man. A pat from the pat is a pat on the...
Hello, everybody. Welcome to yet another exciting episode of the Pat on Brands podcast with Pat Mahlangu. Today is a special one again. And I know I say this with every episode, but believe me, this is a special one because here's a lady that makes many of us look forward to Mondays on LinkedIn because of the content that she shares that's truly inspirational, but also at the same time, I think it's content that you can tell is authentic. It comes from the heart. It's content that, lived experiences, not just content from Google. Let's start it from there. Buli Ndlovu.
Yes, sir.
Welcome to the Pat on Brands podcast.
Thank you for having me. Finally, geez, I feel like I've made it, guys. Like, finally to get to be on Pat on Brands. It's a pleasure for me.
No, it's great to have you here. I mean, like I said, I started off in the intro, Monday reflections. That's something that at least there's one thing that I look forward to on a Monday morning is going on LinkedIn and just seeing, your post. What inspired Monday reflections? Because it seems like now it has become a thing.
Yeah, it's definitely a thing now. Sure. So Monday Reflections, where it started, I'm a troll on social media, right? I've always been a troll. Not always. I mean, I had social media accounts, and then I think back in 2014, I stopped posting. I discontinued Facebook, but I kept like my Instagram accounts and all the other accounts, but I stopped posting. So I was just a troll. And about 2 or 3 years ago, we had a session at work where, someone came in to train us around, how you show up on social media, And the reason I decided to stop posting back then and just become a troll was I wanted to start managing my brand, right? In terms of, when you think about the internet never forgets. So I wanted to be very intentional around what is out there in terms of my digital footprint, and hence I stopped posting. And as time went, I just got this kind of anxiety around what do I post? When do I post? What don't I post? I don't want this thing to be a monster that I have to keep feeding and stuff. So then I just stopped. So 2-3 years ago, we had the session at work where they were just kind of orientating us around how you might be able to, start building or build your online brand and things like that. And part of the exercise was, choose a platform that you're comfortable with and just start posting. So, I started with random things. Every now and again, I'd dip in and out. Yeah. But then I started challenging myself to say, if I want to build this online brand of mine and build my digital footprint, how might I be able to do it? By doing something that felt authentic to me, that felt like I'm not trying too hard, that didn't feel like work, right? Sure. And so, I get inspiration from everywhere. And so that's how Monday Reflections just started. Things that just motivate me, that encourage me. And it was pleasing for me to realize that there are people on the other side, right? Because I was just doing it for myself, motivating myself, encouraging myself, and, to find that there are people on the other side potentially going through similar things, like for me, just it blows my mind to today. And so it was just then how might I just remain consistent in that. And so I started. And so it's been going.
I see now it's also evolving. You're doing videos every now and
then. Yes. So this year.
Written text.
So all of last year was just kind of posting on Mondays, just around my reflections and stuff. And then this year I thought, okay, how might we evolve this platform? Let's add a video piece to it. Wow. So on the first of every month, I kind of come up with the theme for the month. And in the video, I cover that theme, and then the Monday reflections then kind of break the theme into 4 parts or over the 4 weeks in the month.
Interesting, and I like the intentionality as well. It's not just for vibes. There's
it's not for vibes.
And I guess which also ties in with the topic that we'll be talking about, just around building brand and balancing it obviously with sales and making it commercially viable. I know we started off obviously with the end, which is Monday. But who is Buli? For those that do not know you, they see your content on social media. They've watched your TED Talk, which was absolutely brilliant. seen you on stages talking about all things marketing, but who's Buli? Like, where you from? And how did you get into this thing called marketing?
So Buli is a girl from Pimville, Soweto. I like to call it Pimville Estates because it is a suburb.
Ah, yes. Oh, yes.
Pimville, born, bred there. Thankfully and fortunately, both my parents are still alive, still married. 46, I think, years later. Sure. I know. I have an older brother.
Who's also famous.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have an older brother. So really just grew up, really humble beginnings, and how I landed up in marketing is actually quite an interesting story because all I ever wanted to become was a lawyer. I was very clear. I used to watch all of these legal series, whether it was Ellie McBeal, The Practice, my 2000 would know How to Get Away with Murder or Suits. Yeah. I used to watch Ellie McBeal.
Sure.
I was very clear, I was going to stand in front of the judge, wear my cute little suit, cute little shoes, and stand in front of the judge and say, Your Honor, I object. Right? I was very clear.
Very clear.
But I remember getting to grade 11 and it was time for us to do applications for varsity. And my dad sat me down and he said to me, my girl, I know you've always wanted to do this law thing, but not very many lawyers in this country actually make it. A lot of them are sitting in some dark little office archiving papers. Now the backdrop of that was my uncle, who had a legal practice, was probably going through some stuff, and my dad kind of knew what it took for him to just get to a place of setting up his legal practice. I mean, he went on to become a judge in the Constitutional Court. But I mean, at the time, he just understood the struggle that it took for my uncle to really just get set up. So my dad was like, let's do something commerce related. And you could always go back and do this law thing.
Okay. He knew you won't go back.
I thought to myself, this man is just killing my vibe.
Yeah.
Anyway, we look through the prospectus. I see this marketing thing. It looks remotely interesting. And that's how I landed up in marketing.
Sure.
Fortunately for me, I fell head over heels in love, with the art and the science of the marketing function. And I guess, as they say, the rest is history.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, obviously, you studied at UJ.
Yes.
How's it like then in your times? Because I also studied there and it was quite different.
It was school.
Yeah.
Right?
Did you enjoy
it
yourself?
was school.
Were you that girl? Did you stay at Res?
No, I didn't stay at Res. I stayed at home. I lived at home. And I was very fortunate. My mom used to have a...
So you had a car?
No, I didn't have a car. It was my mom's car. But she had a Volkswagen... What is that cool car? Golf 1. Golf 1. It was very cool. It was midnight black. It was beautiful, right? And so my parents borrowed me the car. But I think it was second year or third year that I got to use the car.
Yeah.
But my time at UJ, I enjoyed it. I was a thorough student. I worked very hard. I was one of the nerds.
Did you do any promotions work on weekends?
Well, yes, actually. When I was in varsity, I started doing promotional work, so in-store promotions, so whether, at the big retailers on a Saturday morning, 10 o'clock, I'm there with a little table and trying to convince people to trial. Yeah. Then I graduated into the fancy promotional work, with Smirnoff and J&B promotions.
Oh, you're a Smirnoff girl.
I was a Smirnoff girl. It was good money, but also good learnings, right? And that was really my introduction into marketing and building of brands.
Oh, nice. So you did promotions for Smirnoff.
I did promotions for Smirnoff, yes.
Come here and tell us that that's where it all started.
Absolutely. And an interesting story actually on the Smirnoff brand that I worked on as a promoter. Yeah. At the time, and it's just how weird life works, at the time, my current boss now, CMO of Nedbank, Kenzie, she was a brand manager of Smirnoff at the time. And she was relaunching the Smirnoff brand. I never got to meet her then. Only years later, we connect the dots, right? But it's just how everything just comes full circle. So I was a promoter when she was the brand manager there, and now I get to report to her.
sharing an office.
Right.
Wow, that's amazing. But also, just still on the UJ topic, educationally, academically, you inclined I'd say you're one of the most educated, I'd say, guests we've had on this platform.
Jeez.
Where does this education thing, because some people, once they get to corporate, obviously they gain some experience and they focus on just, the work
Yeah.
rather than, balancing it out with academics. Why is it important? Why is education important to you?
Well, I mean, I come from a family that truly believes in the value of education. My parents have always instilled in my brother and I just the value of education and how education can literally become a passport for you, right? And I took that and I ran with it. I've always loved and enjoyed reading and learning, And so for me, the ideology of educating oneself actually goes beyond kind of the formal classroom learning.
Got you.
I literally embody a personal mantra where I say every day is a school day. I mean, literally every other day I say every day is a school day.
Sure.
And what that means for me is that every day presents an opportunity to learn something new, And one must never deny themselves that opportunity to learn something new every day. If I go home after work every day and I haven't learned anything, there's a problem. Like, I literally feel like there's a problem. So for me, learning and educating myself and constantly improving myself is really one of the values that I hold dear to me. Because I just believe, like, in order for you to grow and to become a better person, you have to learn. There's no way you can. There's a saying that says, and I might botch it up, but what got you here won't get you there,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And so for you to get there must be a shift that happens. And that shift doesn't just, you don't wake up and you've shifted. There must be an accumulation and a build-up of some kind of learning, formal or informal, that then gets you to wherever it is that you want to go. So I truly believe in just bettering oneself through learning.
Interesting. I mean, our burning question for today's podcast, and I think it was partly inspired by the talk that you gave at Marketing Fridays.
Yes.
How can brands balance, brand work and sales, because oftentimes I'm sure you get this, and also which is something I'd like you to touch on, because when you spoke there, you also spoke about the relationship that you have with your CFO, in terms of, they do get the role that you play. It's not about, we give you X amount of budget, we expect X amount of money back in this period or in this current financial year. So how can brands balance this brand work and sales thing and make sure that, they continue to grow and thrive?
Yeah. So, I mean, oftentimes when you think about the marketing function, and I think the marketing function has really come a long way, right, in just its ability to demonstrate commercial value. Oftentimes, I mean, what used to grind my pancreas is when the business would relegate marketing to being about arts and crafts. Right?
Arts and culture, office.
Or the events, but I think over time, what the discipline has done is really come to the party and earned our right to be at the table by demonstrating that commercial value, right, back to business. Where we're not just seen as a cost center, but actually a value adding and a value contributor back to business.
Yeah.
One of the issues, though, which is what I spoke about at Marketing Fridays, which is a tension point that I've experienced throughout my career, is this tension between brand building, right, as well as performance marketing or short-term sales. And I'll use those terms interchangeably.
Yeah.
So there's this constant tension around, do we focus on building the brand or do we focus on performance marketing? And oftentimes it's dictated by the organizational structures where you'd have teams that are around building brands and teams that are focused on sales or sales activation or performance marketing. And I think, in my view, which is oftentimes shared, is I think for me the power lies in the and, right? It's not about an either or. Exactly. It's not an either or. It's not either brand or sales or performance, but the power really lies in the and how you might be able to leverage the strengths that both bring to the table, right?
Sure.
So when you think about brand building, you're focusing on the long term, right? You're speaking to audiences who are not necessarily ready to buy from you right now, right? I make the example, I was lecturing last week, and I made the example that, in 5 years' time, I want to buy myself a Porsche Carrera 911.
Oh, that's my dream car.
Right? Give me 5 years.
Are you
right?
serious?
But Porsche must speak to me today. Right? They need to speak to me today.
Actually, I have it as my screensaver.
Really? Okay, so you and I have something in common.
Yo.
Right? But maybe you're ready now. Maybe you're in the short term. You're in the performance marketing piece for them. I'm in the brand building aspect in the long term, right? So they need to speak to me today, build that affinity with me, build that emotional connection, build that resonance. And that's what brand building does, right? It builds the brand over time.
Yeah.
And so the impact from a commercial perspective, you only see it over time, right? You don't see it immediately. But over time, you literally see the profitability of the brand and the organization increase as you invest in the brand. On the other hand, where you have performance marketing and sales activations, you see the impact on the revenue immediately, right? You see, so when you introduce discounts, promotions, some kind of short-term incentive, you literally see the spikes, right? It impacts your revenue immediately and you see it. But it also decays almost as quickly as fast as you go in is as fast as it goes out.
Sure.
I mean, in the work done by Les Bennett and Peter Field, they actually demonstrated beautifully on a graph where you see the long-term brand building piece. It's like the steps and staircases over time, right? Building over time. Whereas the performance marketing piece, it's like this trampoline effect, right? It's up, down, up, down, up, down. And so I really think that the balance and the focus should be on doing both. Right? It's not about choosing the trampoline or choosing the steps and staircases. It's how might you actually do both. And by the way, it's not to say it's in equal measures. Right? It's not necessarily 50-50 focus, but it's around understanding where your brand is at the time, what are the objectives of the business, what are you trying to achieve, but more so what is happening in the market, where are your consumers, what do they need, and how do you then balance or strike the balance between the two.
Interesting, but then I'm curious to know, how does the conversation go like with your CFO? Especially, I'm gonna come to the latest campaign, where you're saying your time is more valuable than money.
Right, very brave, very brave for a bank to say that.
Yeah, I'm sure your CFO was like, "Hey guys,
what are you doing?
What are you doing? What are you hoping to achieve with this thing? And why are you telling people that their time is more valuable than money?"
So fortunately for us, the relationship between marketing and the finance teams has really grown and matured over time, right? Where we are at a place, such a beautiful place to be in, where you have the finance guys who have really invested in understanding the function of marketing and what it is that we do, so that they are enablers versus being blockers, right, in the ecosystem. And similarly, the marketing teams have really invested time in understanding the workings of the business and how the business makes money, so that what we bring to the table makes sense for a CFO to then comfortably say, actually, I support this initiative because I understand where it is that you guys are going. So it's no longer just, it's not about the pretty pictures and stuff like that. It's really around how might we demonstrate how we're going to achieve the objectives as set out by the business. So if it's around growing market share, revenue uplift, we speak the language of the business, right? And it makes it easier for the two to then connect. If you guys are speaking the same language, it makes it easier to connect. So we've really been fortunate in terms of being able to bring the finance teams along on the journey. And similarly, vice versa, where they've been able to bring us along on the journey. And we found this comfortable place in the middle. You asked me about our latest campaign.
Yeah.
So at Nedbank, we just recently launched the Bank Your Time campaign, which I think is just a beautiful, beautiful campaign that is really based and rooted off a deep, human truth and insight, right? And yes, we do say time is more valuable than money.
Yeah.
Spend it wisely, right? Sure. And I think it's incredibly brave for a bank to be able to say to you, time is more valuable than money.
Absolutely.
Spend it wisely.
But also, you spending your time allow us to take care of your money.
Right? Let us do the heavy lifting. Exactly.
Yeah.
And really where that campaign emanated from is we really wanted to showcase the value that our digital products bring to the lives of our consumers, right? And we're saying because of our digital products, we save you X amount of time, so you don't have to spend it doing banking and stuff. But you can, to your point, we'll sort that out for you. You'll spend under 2 minutes in terms of opening an investment account, And the rest of the time, you can do it spending it with your kid, watching your boy playing soccer, spending a time with your loved ones. Exactly, right?
Yeah.
And that's exactly what we're saying. We're saying as a bank, we understand that your needs far exceed just doing banking, right? And so we don't want you to be consumed by the banking stuff. Our products will save you that time so you can, bank your time and spend it wisely.
Oh, interesting stuff. But also, I mean, in your journey, you've worked in multiple industries. You know, you were in FMCG, you were at telco,
Yeah.
you were now obviously financial services. What would you say all these industries have in common, like from a marketing perspective?
Yeah.
You know, what is that one principle that sort of holds everything together? If you're a marketer in this space.
I think understanding who your customer is and what it is that they need, for me, has always been a great starting point, right? As opposed to leading from your product side and leading from what it is that you're trying to achieve. The starting point for me has always been understanding who my customer is. Who's my customer? Where are they on their journey? What it is that they need, and what do I then have that to offer that will add value to their customers? And it doesn't matter. And I found that transcends industry, sector, brand, product. When you start with the customer in mind, with the customer first mindset, and putting the customer at the heart of everything that you do, I find that from a marketing perspective, that's just great foundational basics, regardless of the industry.
And if you take time to understand your customer, you will thrive as a marketer.
Absolutely.
Any industry.
Absolutely.
So I understand the Bank Your Time campaign. That's your brand sort of work,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Do you
Well, actually, it's both,
oh,
right? So what we did from a Nedbank perspective is you would notice we released call it a positioning campaign, which is that part that is connecting to you emotionally, where we show our hero going through his entire life and all the moments, the special moments that he missed, right?
Yeah.
And that's where we're trying to build that emotional connection, that resonance with people to say, as a bank, we actually care about you as an individual. That's the brand building piece. Shortly after that, we followed up with product ads, right, where we were driving the performance piece, right, where we then demonstrate these proof points that then give us the legitimacy to tell you to spend your time wisely through our digital products, right? And that's a performance marketing. So we came in with our transactional product. You can open it on the app, on the Money app.
Yeah.
With the investment account, you open it in under 2 minutes. With applying for credit in under X number of seconds, right? Yeah. So that was the performance part. And then those two together live and there's this symbiotic relationship. So it's not just landing with brand, but it's it's not just landing with sales, but it's actually doing both at the same time, which I think is where the magic lies.
Amazing. And that's why you have a good relationship with your CFO.
Absolutely, because we can demonstrate, right? We're demonstrating that commercial value. Exactly. So we're not just leaving it. Oftentimes people think brand building is airy-fairy. So we don't just leave it in that airy-fairy, esoteric, emotional space, which is top of the funnel. But actually we're going through the whole funnel, top of funnel, driving awareness, consideration, preference, converting usage, and driving loyalty and retention. So all the way through the marketing funnel.
Sure. But there's probably someone who's watching this episode right now and they're like, yo, I wish I had a CFO, like, the one that Buli has, because they get marketing, they understand marketing. But you obviously mentioned earlier on that you guys had to take time to understand also the finance function and vice versa, And the person who's watching this is like, yo, in my business, it's all about sales.
Yeah.
When you talk brand, they switch off. Actually, funny enough, the other day, I met a brand manager who was saying to me, she reports to like a what do they call it? A chief growth officer, not necessarily, a chief marketing officer.
Yeah.
And he says the guy is not interested in social media.
Yeah.
For example, and she says in the marketing team, there's young people, who live on TikTok, who understand social media, but the man says he's just gonna do a TVC, radio,
very traditional marketing,
and out of home. It's an FMCG brand. It works. you know. And she's like, you have no idea. We always pull our hair, like,
Yeah.
literally, whenever we speak to this man to say he doesn't. So we have some people like that, you know. Again, others are in organizations that are very much sales-driven, performance marketing, but they have the desire to build strong brand because they understand the benefits of
Yeah.
building brand, you know, in the long term. What advice would you give such a marketer to, you know, maybe navigate and soften up these hard CFOs?
Yeah. I think one of the things I've learned throughout my career, especially when you are working with people who don't necessarily understand what you do and where you're coming from, the first thing, it's important to understand what it is that they need,
Sure.
right? What do they need? What are they trying to achieve? And how might you demonstrate adding value to that, right? Once I win your trust on that, I've delivered on what it is that you need, I can then build from there. I can then get I've now gotten your trust in that I can deliver on the things that you've asked me to deliver on, right? We've proven that. Then how do we shift and open up a little bit, right? Still delivering what you need. How do I then start educating you around, if I can deliver this to you, let me show you how I can add incremental value on top of this by doing all of these other things. Sure. And then start taking them on that journey to building onto, you know, and educating people around, you know, what it is that you do and how it might continue to add even more value to what you've already demonstrated. So for me, it's always starting with where they are, demonstrate that value, win that trust, and then build from there through educating. And there's nothing wrong with testing and learning. You know, do something, test and learn, demonstrate the results. Do something small, test, learn, demonstrate the results. And with that, you start getting that incremental trust that is built over time.
Sure, I guess like any relationship, really,
Absolutely.
trust
It's at the core.
is at the core of it.
And what builds that trust for me is the consistency, right? Consistency builds trust. How you keep showing up, keep adding value, you gain my trust. Keep adding value, you gain my trust over time. The minute you start being inconsistent, sometimes you show up, sometimes you don't show up, sometimes you know, then it breaks that trust. But I think that the consistency in delivering and showing value all the time builds that trust over time.
Yeah. I'm going to reference a lot of your talks because I took time to
Jeez, clearly.
to watch and I mean, one, obviously the TED talk that you did in Durban, you know, the title was "Do It Afraid." You know, is that something that you also live by in terms of in your career or that you implement in your work? You know, where you do things like bank your time, and which one would think it's counterintuitive for a
For a
financial
bank.
institution to say that to its people, but you understand, you know, what lies beyond that. Once again, you've built that trust and you've built that credibility in the long term. Why is it important that, you know, as marketers, we need to be brave, for lack of a better word?
Yeah, so I mean, I spoke about doing it afraid, which is absolutely a principle I embody, right? I literally say, you know, do it afraid, do it with your knees shaking under the desk, just do it, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of things in life that we face where you are fearful. But my view is if you're going to let that fear stop you, then you're not going to do half the things that you want to do. Sure. So I truly believe in just being brave and being courageous. And I actually very recently was fortunate enough to be in a talk done by Yolanda Kuba.
Oh, yes?
And she says, you know, you don't need to be courageous all the time. You need moments of bravery. And I thought, wow, like, you know, that just rang so true. Like, you don't need to be strong shabalala all the time when you know, you're courageous. You know, you just literally need moments of bravery. And she says, I mean, even at the level that she's at, she still sometimes feels the fear. And she has this mental countdown where she's like, I'm gonna count down from 5, 4, 3, 2. When I get to 1, I better be standing in front there. I better be speaking, right? And so she sets those kind of triggers for herself to help her manage her own fear. But I think being brave and being courageous, even within the sphere of marketing, is I've found where some of the most amazing work has come out of. I mean, I'll reference one campaign we worked on a couple of years ago. I think it was pre-COVID, called Money Secrets, right?
I enjoyed that series.
Yeah, Money Secrets.
Yeah.
Well, it was beautiful. It was. I mean, we launched an entire movie,
Yeah, I
right?
remember. That's
Where
just-
we were really talking about the things that people oftentimes don't want to talk about, which is money. You know, we're most likely to talk about our weight, our everything but our bank balance, right? And we were really trying to unearth, just starting a conversation among South Africans around money. Now, when you talk about money, it's very controversial, right? And so it was very brave. And when the agency, our creative agency, Joe Public, presented that, I mean, I remember this, my CMO was just like, guys, do you want me to get fired for this, you know? And everyone was like, only brave CMOs will do it, you know? So she was, yeah.
But she's a maverick herself.
Oh no, she's an absolute maverick. She's an absolute maverick, but she felt the fear then, you know. And I remember her and I going up to the CEO and having to present this idea because we truly believed in it, you know. Yes, there was the fear. Yes, so many things could go wrong, but we were like, we are going to stick, you know, by this idea of just how this piece of creative work can really drive growth for the brand and for the business, and it really proved to be so for us.
Amazing. Then I'm gonna reference one last talk. I think which is one that one I was
I
first
hope I remember it.
I was first exposed to you. I think you did it in 2020.
Okay.
You know, at IMC. I think it was about around reading the room.
Reading the room. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, which is something that, you know, sometimes you see even brands that you can see when a brand doesn't read the room.
Yeah.
You know, we could be in a certain situation as a country or as a world, but then, you know, you see certain campaigns and you're like, can't help but just cringe and be like, I mean, come on, guys. Did you see what's happening?
Yeah.
Can you take us through just, you know, the key parts of that talk and also just around, because we also have young people that are watching this podcast, you know, that are, you know, building careers, that want to be a bully, you know, one day and want to sit on that chair, you know, and the importance of just having the ability to read the room.
Yeah. So that was an incredibly special talk for me because it was a topic that I'm still incredibly passionate about, which is just this idea of brands understanding the context in which they are operating in, right? Oftentimes, brands want to jump on social trends, right? They jump into a conversation. It's like coming into a room, you find people already there and they're talking, and when you just want to jump in and start talking, right? And that's oftentimes what brands do. But,
Case in point, I think there was that young couple, there was a young lady, you know, I forget the name. What's that lady, the Xhosa lady? Young,
where?
married to another young guy. Yeah.
What did they do?
I mean, she was trending online. You know, she did a video with the husband. She
Yeah.
was like, oh, fully Red Bull. Yeah. Say it. And she was carrying a Luella bag.
Yeah.
You know, and
The Luella.
You know, then now all of a sudden,
Blew
car
up.
dealerships
Blew
are
up.
giving her cars. You know, brands are just jumping on this girl, but for most parts, you're sitting there like, what is the connection?
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
know, what is this all about?
And that for me was really the crux of that talk around reading the room, right? You can't just as a brand jump onto trends that have
Her name is
nothing to do with
Dandugazi,
you.
sorry.
Oh, is that her name?
Yeah.
You know, as brands, you can't just jump into conversations. You know, you have to almost earn the right to be a part of that conversation by understanding the context. You have to get permission to be a part of that conversation.
Sure.
And that permission you get by being true to who you are as a brand and being authentic to your values and your purpose as a brand, right? If I think about, you know, from a Nedbank perspective, our purpose is we say we want to use our money expertise to do good, right? For individuals, for families, for businesses, and for society, right? That is our purpose. We're anchored in that purpose to use our money expertise. So when something happens within the social space and we want to be a part of that conversation, it has to be something that is authentic and that aligns very strongly to our purpose, right? Because then it means we're showing up authentically. We're not having to bend ourselves as a brand just to be a part of that particular conversation. Brands that have done it really well. An example that I'm just thinking of right now, and in fact, a friend of mine and an ex-colleague did this when she was at KFC, when they did the proposal, right? She was working at KFC at the time. I think they were managing the brand. Kawe, yes, Kazi. Kazi was I mean, that was her big campaign, and I just thought that was beautiful how that brand, jumped onto and was able to tap into just a zeitgeist of the moment.
Absolutely.
That happened at the time. And of course other brands then kind of jumped on. But I think what KFC did with that particularly was just like really, really beautiful. Tapping into cultural conversations also goes beyond just current trends, right? I think a brand that has done it exceptionally well in terms of just being a part of the cultural zeitgeist of the time, of a generation, was BMW with the 325i, right?
Wow.
The Kusheshe. The Kusheshe actually doesn't belong to BMW.
It's for the people.
It's for the people, right? It's literally when the culture embraces your brand in a way where they even give it a name. And I mean, when you Google Kusheshe, the name Kusheshe is actually Googleable, right?
Yeah.
And that's how much the culture embraced that particular product, right? And I mean, to this day, it is legendary. Yes, they don't produce it, but it's legendary.
Funny enough, I think I was having a conversation with my brother-in-law, just around cars and how one needs a project car.
Yes.
And we started talking about, obviously, Kusheshe is one classic car that...
Classic.
If you want to have a project car, you can look at it. And look at the price of it.
Yeah.
I mean, 1.2 million.
Yeah. But it's legendary.
It's
legendary, right? And the culture just embraced that brand, right? And what BMW did is they understood that it no longer belonged to them and it actually belonged to the people. And they then moved accordingly. Another brand that's been able to tap into the cultural zeitgeist very well, I think, is Sunlight. Sunlight Bar. The green bar.
Yeah.
Right? When you have people... finding different uses for your product. I mean, I don't know when Sunlight started. I imagine it was just a soap, right?
Absolutely.
But Sunlight is a shampoo. It is a roll-on. It is a girls do edges with Sunlight, right?
Sure.
And again, that's
Also
when the culture...
what do you call it? Spade.
It's an enema. It's an enema, right?
Yeah, enema.
Yes.
Hey, you see,
So
I went to secondary school. You don't know these things. You see, girls from Factown girls.
So when the culture embraces brands, and I think that's the pinnacle at any brand wants. When the culture just embraces that brand, there are brands who've gotten it horribly wrong. When you think about Pepsi. A couple of years ago, during the Black Lives Matter movement, and they had Kylie Jenner. I don't know if you remember, there was Kylie Jenner in front of police, and she was offering a Coke as Pepsi, as a peace offering.
Yeah.
That completely, they were annihilated for that because they took a very serious, meaningful cultural moment and almost minimized it to being about soda, right? And they actually missed what that moment was about. Another brand that oftentimes has gotten it right but has gotten it wrong is Dove, right? So through their beauty campaign, I think they've been spot on in understanding, what beauty means. But there's a campaign that they ran where they then changed their packaging to represent women's body shapes. And you had these, call it weird looking shapes, which were not pleasant, right? And so in that moment, they got it wrong. So even brands who oftentimes get it right can sometimes get it wrong. But you need to be able to read the room as a brand for you to be able to get into that conversation.
Sure. Then at an individual level, we hire young people. Sometimes you're like, girl or boy, read the room, you know, this is not the time.
Yeah, or the place.
Or the place, you know, and how does that now sort of translate to, you know, at an individual level, particularly young people? What are some of the things that they need to take into consideration when reading the room? Because I promise you, I mean, like I said, we hire a lot of young talent, and for most part, I've realized that they're lacking on the softer side of things, not necessarily technical ability to perform certain tasks, but just the soft skills.
Look, I think some things can only come over time. You know, I do think some things you can't expect. If you don't have the experience for something, you can't expect me to be a CFO tomorrow, right? Give me time, right? Give me time. Train me, expose me, allow me to learn, allow me to make those mistakes, allow me to enter into a room and be completely, you know,
and sit at the head of the table.
And sit at the head of the table, you know, when I'm the intern, right?
Yeah.
But it's only through those experiences and making mistakes do you actually get to learn, right? I made a lot of mistakes when I was younger. But it's mistakes that I look back on and I'm so glad, you know, that I went through those things. I earned my stripes. Even today, I continue making mistakes. Ask my boss. I continue making mistakes, you know, but it's the only way that you really learn and grow. But I think perhaps at an individual level, one of the things that young people can do is perhaps start articulating the kind of personal brand that they want to build for themselves, right? When you have that picture of what that personal brand looks like for yourself, then you can start putting in place the steps that it will need for you to get to whatever that looks like. And if one of those things is around the ability to read the room, then it becomes a checkpoint that, okay, I need to learn. And how might I learn if I don't know? Ask someone. Ask someone, Pat, when I get into a room, what is the protocol? You know, when I incorporate, is there a particular, you know, way of doing things? And you grow and you learn, and this goes back to my principle of every day is a school day.
Yeah.
You don't just learn by just sitting there on your own. You ask questions, you investigate, you read, you do all sorts of things just to acquire and build up that kind of experience muscle over time.
Sure, interesting. I mean, it's been a very interesting conversation. And before I let you go,
not this quiz. Not this quiz.
How do you know? How do you know?
I've been so stressed about this quiz.
You know, you'll appreciate it at the end.
Okay.
It's one of those things. It's one of those things that you know, I think have become obviously a signature part of the podcast. But also, you know, just for you to reflect on your knowledge about brands as a marketing executive.
Guys, please don't judge me on this. Please. I'm already putting a disclaimer already.
Yeah. No, we'll try and make it simple.
Please go easy on me.
This year we held the top 16 Youth-Owned Brands Awards.
I don't know.
And so for the first time, there was an award that was introduced called the Global Excellence Award, which was given to a brand, a youth-owned brand that did exceptional things on global platforms and really positioned South Africa in a positive light. Which brand received the Global Excellence Award?
Is it a shoe brand?
No,
you're going to give me clues? Okay, let's go. Let's go.
Multiple choice.
Let's go.
Yeah. Is it Batu? Is it Tebe Magugu? Is it Makosa? Yeah, let's leave it at that. 3 options. Is it Batu, Tebe Magugu?
You probably shouldn't have given me options. I was going to go Batu.
Are you sure? Global Excellence Award given to a brand.
I mean, all 3 are just killing it.
Yes. But youth-owned.
Youth-owned.
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna go with Theo Batu.
It's a slap.
It's a slap.
It's a slap.
No, wait, hold on. No, wait.
Slap.
No, wait. I hadn't locked in my answer.
Excellence.
I hadn't locked in my answer. Okay, so it's Batu, it's Makosa, and it's
Tebe
Tebe Makuku. Makosa?
Ooh, it's a proper slang.
Tebe Makuku. Sorry.
Eish. You know,
But I mean, all three.
yeah.
Listen, all
No,
three,
really.
I think, are just killing it globally, locally, but globally, and you could even add black coffee to that.
Of course, Eish. But here's how I would have gone, because Makosa is not youth owned anymore. I think
Okay.
Wise is beyond. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I tried to, because I was like,
Yeah.
Tebe Makuku, I'm not sure.
But-
Theo, isn't Theo still into youth?
Yeah. But Tebe Makuku, fun fact. So the Tebe Makuku house
Yeah.
in Hyde Park was named as one of the 100 places to visit this year by
What?
Time magazine.
That is
That's what they talk about. They say global
amazing.
excellence.
No, that's proper global excellence.
You know,
That is proper global excellence. Wow, that is
100
incredible.
yes, 100 places.
By time.
by Time.
Jeez.
You know.
Okay.
You must take time actually to visit that house. It's amazing.
Sure, wow.
Amazing. It's an experience
Yeah.
shopping there, and the price also.
Of course, it's an experience.
amazing.
Of course.
All right, question 2.
Yes.
Now we're going to China.
You said you're going to be easy, but
It's easy. I mean,
Okay.
local brands.
Okay.
It's easy. So I think just also yesterday,
yeah.
a Chinese e-commerce brand announced that they will be opening a physical store in South Africa.
Not the pop-up.
Physical pop-up.
Sheen.
Okay. Why is your papa now? Share, okay. That's a pact. That's a pact. Question number 3.
Yes.
Your favorite platform, LinkedIn.
Uh-huh.
When was it officially launched?
But
What year? It's up there. 2001? 2003? 2010? LinkedIn. Well, you post every Monday.
I'm trying to think. It must have been before 2010. Can I eliminate 2010?
Yeah.
I'm going to go 03.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm going to lock in 03. Yeah.
You get a pad before you change your answer. Before you start changing your answer. Which of these following brands were founded by the Tesla brothers?
Okay.
Shoe brands. Is it Nike and Reebok?
Tesla Brothers.
Yes.
Okay.
Is it Adidas and Puma? Or is it Adidas and New Balance? The Tesla brothers. 2 German.
What's the middle one? Adidas and Puma.
Yeah. So is it Nike and Reebok, Adidas and Puma, or Adidas and New Balance?
Adidas and New Balance? Or Adidas and Puma?
Which one is it?
I'm eliminating number 1.
Okay.
Adidas and Puma.
You get a pass. 1, 2. You should work on the sound effects.
Yeah,
You
I
know?
need horns or something.
Yeah.
Or something.
Wow. You know your brands.
That's process of elimination.
Yeah, the Tesla brothers. Funny enough, so Adi Tesla, they started with Adidas and they had a fight. Then he went on to start Puma.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That is very interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Last question.
Yes.
It's actually one of their branches is right opposite to your headquarters there on Rivonia Road.
Okay.
Tasha's restaurant.
Yes.
Who is the founder of Tasha's?
Tasha.
Let's
I don't know her city.
let me give you options.
Don't give me 3 Tashas with different surnames. Okay, let's go.
Yeah. Is it Natasha Sideris? Tasha Falyun or Natasha Mahlangu?
The first one.
Ah!
Not Natasha Mahlangu, no.
Hey,
Not yet. Not yet.
Yes, you get a pack with Natasha Sideris, who recently also got an honorary
Yes,
doctorate
how incredible.
from the University of South Africa.
Was it
Yes,
UNISA?
Yeah.
Oh wow, that's
Now
incredible.
She's based in Dubai.
Yeah, no, she's a gone girl.
She's gone.
Gone girl, that
Gone
one.
forever. Yeah, thank you so much. You're a great sport.
Thank
You didn't
you.
do as bad as you thought you might do.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Any parting shots? People that would like to connect with you. What's the best way to connect with you? And also, like, your advice, to aspiring marketers, that have ambitions of one day, being a marketing executive, a CMO. What are some of the things that they need to take care of?
So I think for aspiring marketeers, I think just be clear on what it is that you want to do. Oftentimes people get into marketing thinking, yay, it's a nice time, it's adverts, which is just but a part of marketing. Give yourself time to understand what the discipline is, both the art and the science of it. Understand its ability to impact the social environment that you're in, its ability to grow the brand, and its ability to demonstrate commercial viability. Understand it, right, and give yourself time. I think to aspiring marketeers, I'd say earn your stripes, right? In the beginning, we spoke about how I did in-store promotions and Smirnoff engagements and things like that.
Yeah.
Things like that they give you, I don't say they give you credibility, but they help you understand the growth path that brands go through, Part of what I did is I was a sales rep at SAB. Yes. I picked up crates and went to Mamno Bases Tavern in Shawela, right? But that gave me an understanding of the workings of that environment and how that environment makes money. And therefore, when marketing comes in, when you understand how the business works, you're then able to demonstrate value through what you bring to the table, as opposed to just coming in airy-fairy. So earn your stripes. There's a lot to be said around young people. They are hungry. They are ambitious. They are, they've got great ideas, which is what corporate South Africa needs, right? But there's also value in experience, right? In experience, which you can't buy. There's value in people who've been there, who've earned their stripes, who've had the hard yards, who've got the experience, and how that intergenerational learning might benefit and grow brands, right? It's not just about, yeah, I'm young, I'm this, I'm hot, I'm happening.
I know TikTok.
It's great. It's fantastic. We need that. But there's value in experience, and how might those two work hand in glove. And maybe the last thing I'd say is always stay true to yourself. Always stay true to yourself. Don't ever try to bend yourself into a pretzel to please people. Be authentic. And as long as your authenticity is not disrespecting the next person, it's not violating anyone else, but show up as your most authentic self. Show up as your most truest self. It'll hold you in good stead. You never have to pretend to be anything that you're not. It's just so much easier just being yourself all the time. You don't have to remember to be someone else. So that's kind of what I would say to aspiring marketeers. And to contact me, reach me on LinkedIn.
Yeah, slide in the DM.
Buli
The first
Ndlovu.
time I chat to her, I slid in the DM and she responded.
It's Buli Ndlovu on LinkedIn. That's where you can find me, and I'm very active and responsive on LinkedIn. All the other platforms, I did put a disclaimer, I'm a troll, so you won't find me, but I will find you.
Wow, I love it. Thank you so much for making the time.
Thank you.
And really, opening up and sharing your knowledge with us. It's truly appreciated. To our viewers, do make sure that you subscribe to the channel. We need those subscriptions. That's the only way we're going to grow. But also, do share your comments and your thoughts about this episode, and do follow Buli on LinkedIn. I promise you won't regret it. You'll surely be inspired on Monday morning. if you hate Monday mornings, at least the Monday reflection, there should be one thing that will be the highlight, of the start of your week. And yeah, do subscribe, do follow us on social media at Pattern Brands, and also give us suggestions of guests guests that you'd like to see on this platform. And also as we're building and growing. And don't forget that this episode was made possible by Lerato Agency and 1-2 Productions. All right, thank you so much. For me, Pat Mahlangu ngithi inarha
Pat. It's Pat on Brands. Watch how you branded, man. A pat on the back is a pat from the man. Better be branded, man. A pat from the pat is a pat on the